We're at StarCast, and this is Fate. And I am here with my man Nate. Now, we all know haters gonna hate, but this brother here, he's still great. We're at StarCast, we're having a good time. I'm with Nathan, and I'm making a rhyme. The N-A, the T-H-A, the N. All the girls in the world wanna be his friend. So Nate's right here, and we go fast, and we are chilling at StarCast.
Ladies and gentlemen, celebrating 5 years as a podcaster, introducing Nate the Great.
They'll never take me down. My foundation is too strong. Let's do it, man. Let's go. Let's go. I'm back on my own too. So whatever happens is on you. They stood on the shoulders of pride. I stood on the word that is all true. Like gravity, I'm holding it down. I'm holding my crown. Showing these towns that no one around can match with me. I'll be the last one standing. Last one standing. If you got something to prove, go ahead and make your move. Last one standing. Last one standing. I'll be the last one. The last one standing.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Game Changer Podcast, Pro Talk Wrestling Edition. I am your host, NateFNGreat. Still feeling a little bit sore at the time of this recording because I got chopped to bits by Backwoods Brown as well as Gavin McCoy. Shout out to those two. Also, Backwoods put back some mean punch or a mean chop in this case. If you haven't seen it already, go check out the YouTube channel where I actually do have the chops posted. I got 2 chops from him, one with a shirt and one without a shirt. Which one was worst? You be the judge when it comes to that. For me, honestly, shirt off definitely it hurt worse. But also, it was already pre-tenderized from 2 chops anyway. So, on this edition of the Game Changer Podcast, I thought it might be kind of cool to go into a little bit of WrestleMania themed. And what I mean by that is there are things about WrestleMania that you do appreciate and that you do love. Unfortunately, me, I'm falling out of the grace of WWE. Mainly the fact that their TV shows are just getting way too antagonizing and just way too annoying for me to even care about what's going on with their storylines, with their characters. I have so many people on that roster that I absolutely love to watch. I just hate that they're being utilized so poorly. And it shows, especially with the ratings. They're just keep going down, 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 down. It's just absolutely insane seeing how they just really don't know. Vince does not know what he's doing. And I am putting it solely on Vince. I know that there's a lot of people that will say, well, the writers could always say no. The problem is that anytime that they do, they get fired and then they got a new yes man or yes woman to back up for that. It's just one of those things where it's like Vince needs to retire. He needs to hand his reins over to somebody who will have a little more insight, a little more deals. And it's fine. The fact that he has admitted on numerous occasions that he just doesn't get certain things, that's fine. You don't have to get it. It makes money. That's what matters in the end. But I guess it doesn't really matter when it comes to this point. So I thought it might be kind of cool to talk about some decisions that were made in regards to WrestleMania, specifically the last, say, 10 plus years of WrestleMania. I'm not going too far back. I'm actually going to go as far back as WrestleMania 25 and actually talk about some of the outcomes that I would have changed as well as don't agree with. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started right into it. Starting with last year at WrestleMania 36, it was overall a pretty decent card. A lot of things that I watched on there were pretty fun. There was a lot of matches on there that I just was not expecting to be good, and they were. I mean, the triple threat match for the tag team titles for SmackDown was just a basic triple threat, but you know, anytime you have John Morrison, Kofi Kingston in it, it definitely is one of those things where you're just like, okay, you're going to expect something really great. But there was a red herring in the lineup, and that was the match between Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler. Now, this is something that I've seen from fantasy bookers, and I've definitely have kind of talked about this a little bit in the past, that the match between Shayna and Becky ended in a way that frustrated me, because Shayna Baszler has been on the other end of that deal where she's got somebody in her signature choke, and then they pull the Bret Hart deal where, they just flip over the I think it was the top rope, or just flip back, and Shayna gets pinned by it. She had that with Kairi Sane. That's how she lost the NXT Championship the first time. But she learned that during the 2 out of 3 falls match not to do that, which was smart. That got immediately, in my opinion, thrown down the toilet with this matchup, because Becky Lynch did the exact same thing and beat Shayna Baszler for that. If there was a different way, I would have understood that, but ultimately, Shayna Baszler should have gone over. Shayna Baszler put on a dominant performance in the Elimination Chamber, and the fact that they just kind of took that away from her at WrestleMania really just rubs me the wrong way. In all honesty, Becky Lynch already had the year-long run, and she accomplished everything, and she beat everybody. There was really no one else for her to beat. But I will also say that if we did not have that moment, we wouldn't have had the moment where Becky basically, gave the Raw Women's Championship over to Asuka and then announced that she was going to be a mom. But I think it would still have created for an emotional moment nonetheless, because Becky being a mom and Seth being a dad, that's still an awesome moment to at least hear that. But at WrestleMania, Shayna should have came out victorious, in my opinion. She was on fire for the longest time, and she definitely deserved a lot better. And even nowadays, I look at everything that she's gone through. She's teamed up with Nia Jax, and that just annoys me. That's one of those things where I'm just like, that should not have happened. Shayna should have been a huge contender for the Raw Women's Championship. Honestly, she should have been headlining WrestleMania this year. I mean, Rhea Ripley versus Shayna Baszler at WrestleMania? Are you kidding me? Sign me up for that. But, Rhea Ripley versus Asuka, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are definitely wanting to see that because it's a dream match. And, Rhea Ripley being the heel in this will be very interesting. But, yes, 36, Shayna should have gone over. WrestleMania 35, hey, this was a good one because I was there for that WrestleMania. Myself and Will Tereshaw from WrestleAddict Radio, Kings of the Rings. Shout out to Will. There were two things that I had issues with the card on this one. First one being that Miz lost to Shane McMahon. The fact that Miz got royally screwed so many times at WrestleMania is just absolutely downright deplorable. And trust me, this is not going to be the last time you're going to be hearing the Miz's name being mentioned here on this WrestleMania list. He should have beat Shane McMahon. It was ultimately one of those things where I kind of see where they were going with having Shane be this guy who was going to ultimately be like the big heel that would be conquered by someone, mainly Kevin Owens, but not before having Undertaker pin him in the it just, oh boy. I honestly much rather would have just had, Shane McMahon lose at Mania, maybe win in the rematch against them at Money in the Bank, and then have him beat Roman Reigns, just because I think people would have still been shocked by that. But just at WrestleMania, come on, guys, just no. I understand somebody probably say, but Shane can't always lose at WrestleMania. Big Show has lost more WrestleMania matches than anybody, I guarantee it. And you don't see him complain. You don't see anybody else saying like, oh man, he should get more wins. It just does not make sense to me. Good Lord. I'm getting more angry with some of these booking deals. But Miz should have won. He should have had another great WrestleMania moment. And if he would have won because of his dad, oh my gosh, that would have been great. Picture this. Miz defeats Shane McMahon at WrestleMania. Maybe it's like a super skull-crushing finale from the top of the Raptor. Like the top of the scaffold things, I think that they did. Because they did that weird superplex spot where it looked like Miz was going to pick up the victory, but Shane McMahon just had his hand in the right place at the right time. That was dumb. but having Miz, do that super skull-crushing finale, pinning Shane 1, 2, 3, and then having that moment where, George and Miz just have that nice, father-son moment where, for George, he can definitely say the phrase, I was never, wanting to replace you with Shane. You were always going to be my son. I will always love it. Having that kind of moment, great, wholesome family values in wrestling. Need something like that. But instead, they went with that stupid route. Just, man. The other thing that could have went better was the finish to the main event of WrestleMania. I'm not going to knock the women off at all. I just will say that the finish was very much botched, and it could have been something more monumental. One thing I will agree with, Adam Blumpier from Parts Fun Known mentioned the idea that, all three women were submission experts and it ends in a botched crucifix pin. Ronda's not going to be around, so if she's going to have a loss, why not have it at a, on a bigger grand scale? Instead of her being pinned, have her submit, which it would only be like the second time that she's submitted in her entire career. Although I could be missing some from her UFC career. That's beside the point. Just having Becky have that moment where she beats, the baddest bitch on the planet, and she beats Ronda Rousey, that would have just been an absolutely amazing moment. Yeah, you could throw Charlotte in there just because, hey, we got a raging boat over Charlotte Flair. Whee! Why not? But just having Becky Lynch make Ronda tap out would have just cemented her legacy as one of the toughest women in all of WWE, and it would have been great. Just would have been an absolutely great moment. All right, we move on to WrestleMania 34. Oh man, was this one just an absolutely this was a bit of a dumpster fire if ever I thought of one. But I definitely did try to reduce it down to just mainly two matches that I would have changed up that probably would have made the card better. Have Nakamura dethrone AJ Styles. In all honesty, having that moment where Nakamura wins the WWE Championship, that was the moment. That was the time to do it. And I would have literally had them just do like a New Japan style match. Let them just go pillar to post like Sami Zayn and Nakamura on NXT TakeOver Dallas. God, was that a good matchup, and that could have been one of those matches that just competed with that. Damn it all, that would have been just great. Instead of having, AJ win, and then Nakamura's new gimmick is, I like to punch everybody in the bollocks, because why not? Oh, gosh, just no. The other thing that could have happened is they could have had the Bar versus literally anyone else. Because Bar versus Strowman and Nicholas, it created a funny moment. That was just not something I wanted to see. They could have had Braun Strowman win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and that would have been fine with me. Or this could have been the opportunity to have, Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt come into this. Oh, gosh. Can you imagine that kind of deal? Having Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy, team up at WrestleMania and just literally win the tag team titles in their first one. Oh my gosh, that would have just been absolutely amazing. Gosh, again, anyone else for the Bar to compete with, that would have just been great. It would have made so much more sense too. We go on to WrestleMania 33. Overall, a pretty good WrestleMania. A lot of people definitely will admit the fact that there were a lot of great emotions when you look into this. I mean, Hardy Boys returning, Undertaker supposedly having his last ride in WWE. But there were a couple of things that could have definitely been changed, one of which was, shocker, Miz and Maurice should have won. They could have had the victory, and they could have held themselves up as major heels because of that victory, and they could have still done the proposal deal with Nikki and John. Just, everybody saw it coming, but going for that, feel-good moment, just having Cena, Nikki win, lulls, just no. Absolute no. They should have had Miz and Maurice won, even though, it seems like a kind of like a sad moment. You have it turn into a feel-good moment afterwards. Randy Macho Man Savage lost to Ultimate Warrior decisively, and he still had one of the best feel-good moments of that WrestleMania. That could have been that moment. But nope, they just went the safe route of just having Cena and Nikki win. And just, oh man, a lot of these matches are just getting me more peeved than anything. Good Lord. The other thing I would have changed, I would have had Bray Wyatt defeat Randy Orton. And here's a bit of a controversy. Maybe cut out the stupid PowerPoint shit, because there was no point to it. It was stupid, and it still is stupid. They literally make the House of Horrors match look like it was a playground, or looked like a more kid-friendly playground. Just, I'm so thankful we got the Firefly Funhouse match out of this years later. Just works so much better. I need to move on from this. So we go on to WrestleMania 32. One of the worst WrestleManias in WWE's history. I'm just going to go right down the line here. I would have had, AJ defeating Jericho, because AJ Styles' first WrestleMania. And honestly, I think that it would have really capped off his career and made more sense for having AJ Styles feel more like a threat to Roman Reigns in the upcoming, matches. And plus, it just hurt AJ more that he lost 3 consecutive pay-per-views. He lost to Chris Jericho, then he lost to Roman Reigns twice. Just, again, just no. I would have had the New Day defeat the League of Nations and have it be for the tag team titles. I mean, League of Nations was already going to break up anyway. Why give them that WrestleMania moment? You could have had League of Nations still beat up the New Day, and we still could have had that moment of, Foley, Shawn Michaels, and Stone Cold Steve Austin beating up the League of Nations because, they're being sore losers, so they get their just desserts. That's just me. Another thing, while it was one of the best matches, if not the best match on the card, Sasha Banks should have won the Raw Women's Championship on that night. Although at that time, it was just the Women's Championship. As much as, Charlotte was the best heel to win that championship, it just would have made more for a feel-good moment to have, Sasha win the championship. Plus, she probably would have had a better run than what she had in months to come, where she would just hot potato it over to Charlotte for months, weeks on end. Just, that's frustrating. The other thing that I would have done here is I would have nixed the Eric Rowan Rock matchup, because that made no sense. We just got to see the Wyatt family buried again by Rock as well as John Cena. That was just dumb. That was dumb. We go on to WrestleMania 31. A couple of very ones that I don't think I really need to go into too many details about it. For me, I would have had Sting defeat Triple H, give Sting that one victory in WWE that he rightfully deserves, because there was no point of having, Sting lose, even if they were trying to build up, Triple H versus Rock for the following year, which, shockingly enough, didn't actually happen. What a shock. That was just dumb. I went through this in my booking for him. I actually had Rusev going over John Cena at WrestleMania. It just would have made a lot more. It would have been a better feel-good moment, where at the end of it all, John Cena definitely does get that United States Championship win, but to have him lose at the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania, it would have just been one of those things that I think would have benefited Rusev more than anything. And to be honest, did Rusev even get a WrestleMania moment out of this, other than, the fact that he was coming out on a tank, which was amazing? He should have won. He came out on a tank. He should have won. Bottom line. WrestleMania 30. This is kind of a easy one, where Undertaker should have continued the streak. He should have remained undefeated at WrestleMania, and they should have booked Brock Lesnar a lot better in the years prior. That's just me. He should have just never lost. Maybe that could have made this matchup, feel good, but it's one of those things where Undertaker deserved to go undefeated going into the Hall of Fame. He definitely deserved to just be that guy who literally vanquished every single soul. And while it did create for a shock value, I think it kind of does take away a bit from the feel-good moment at the end of the night, which was the Daniel Bryan title win, because people were talking about, those two moments. I think they were talking about the Taker loss more than the Daniel Bryan win, in my opinion. So I think that just would have made more sense to have Daniel Bryan win and have Undertaker just remain undefeated. So that, because that would have tied into the WrestleMania 33 deal where he, oh no wait, that would have been 32. Nope, that's 33, where he would have also beaten Roman Reigns, because it just would have made more sense to me. The other thing I would have had was Bray Wyatt defeats John Cena, because again, it's one of those moments where he can definitely, there's more storytelling with Bray Wyatt getting that victory. The fact that he lost that big match, then won via technicality in the second matchup, and then he got squashed in the third one, it just hurt his character more than anything. That was just aggravating. That was frustrating. And it still is to this day. The fact that John Cena could have just let Bray win, and I'm sure there's going to be people who will be like, oh, the kids would have been crying, they would have been sad. They would have felt better at the end of it because Daniel Bryan would have won. It's not always about the John Cena show. Let other people have that moment. Going on to WrestleMania 29, not too much to change from here. Honestly, I probably would have done something different with the world title, because Swagger versus Del Rio was interesting, but Del Rio was not a likable enough guy to represent, the Latin American culture, in my opinion. Honestly, if they would have gotten Prince Puma for that would have been amazing. And Swagger didn't really feel too much like a threat. It's just one of those things where I kind of kept it there just because I didn't know what to do with it, really. But I would have changed the outcome between the Ryback and Mark Henry matchup, because, again, it goes into future storytelling. Having Ryback defeat Mark Henry at WrestleMania gives him more motivation to go after John Cena for the WWE Championship, because now he can say, I beat the world's strongest man. I had a big feast, and now I want more. I'm going to eat more, and I'm going to beat John Cena for the WWE Championship. It just makes more sense. Long-term storyline booking, it made more sense to have Ryback win. WrestleMania 28, I actually didn't have anything on here. To be honest, I looked at the card as a whole. Just about everything on there felt right. Honestly, it might probably be one of the few WrestleManias that I look at and think I didn't have a problem with any of them. Maybe some people would have, changed that, women's tag match a little bit, or the Big Show and Cody Rhodes match. Honestly, they didn't really annoy me that much. They were just kind of in a good spot for WrestleMania 28. It was probably one of the better WrestleManias, and probably one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time. We go on to WrestleMania 27. Well, here's an easy fix. Lawler defeats Cole. And then that storyline ends. Moving on. Miz defeats The Rock with... The Miz defeats not The Rock. Miz defeats John Cena with no help from The Rock. There we go. There's a little bit of a thing that I missed here. Just having The Miz, beat John Cena on the grandest stage of them all by himself, how crazy of a reaction would that be? The Hollywood A-lister just wins the match. You could have that cheap shot with, Alex Riley being involved, but somehow The Miz, kind of cheats to win, but he has no help from The Rock. I understand that they did that just to catapult the next big matchup, which was Cena and Rock at WrestleMania, but they didn't need to do that at Miz's expense. They really did not need to do that. So we go from that to 26. In the triple threat match between Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase, I said anyone but Orton because, honestly, Orton didn't need to have the big match victory. I think that Ted DiBiase and Cody Rhodes would have benefited from it more. Maybe Ted DiBiase Jr. because of the fact that he was in the Marine 2. Maybe Cody Rhodes because he was starting to come out as a character in and of himself. It's kind of a toss-up between the two of them, but I think having one of them pick up the victory at WrestleMania would have been nice. Actually, I'll put it on Ted DiBiase Jr. because a year later, Cody would have defeated Rey Mysterio in probably a bigger matchup. So That's the way I see it. The other thing I would change would be having a different Money in the Bank winner. Ixnay, the Swagger A. I would have either had Matt Hardy win it, Christian, MVP, or Drew McIntyre win it. And to be honest, Drew McIntyre would probably have been the best bet for that one. Even if you had him hold the title for like a couple of months, just imagining him winning the match and then winning the championship maybe like a few days after. He could have done like the Jack Swagger deal and could have been, the chosen one. He walks out with the World Heavyweight Championship and he walks out with the Intercontinental Championship. Can you imagine that? He could, doubly prove himself as a competitor. That would have been just absolutely shocking, but it would have been also amazing in my opinion. But I think that there were some backstage deals that were going on for that. Maybe it was just one of those things where they just decided maybe hold off on pushing him for right now. But in my opinion, Drew McIntyre would have been the best one. Also in that night, CM Punk defeats Rey Mysterio, because I think having a heel Rey Mysterio for like a brief glimmer of it would have just been great. Honestly, if you watch the Adam Blampier, Straight Edge Society video, it's honestly really good. So that's just something that I would have for that. And finally, WrestleMania 25, majority of it I would honestly keep, especially Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker. Oh my God, yes, more yes. Ultimately ending with Randy Orton defeating Triple H and not having it be that stupid, kooky Triple H loses the title by DQ, because that made no sense whatsoever. They should have just had it be a no-holds-barred deal. These guys just literally beat the ever-living piss out of each other, and they probably could have a knockdown, drag-about brawl like Rock and Austin had at WrestleMania X7. That's just my opinion. So that are the matches. Speak a little party. Those be the matches that I would change the outcomes or just change them entirely, because WrestleMania definitely deserves a lot better. It's the Super Bowl of professional wrestling. It definitely does deserve to be treated more as such, with great booking opportunities, crazy swerves. Even if it's a situation where you just go with the obvious choice, there are a lot of times where people will see the obvious choice, but they'll go with you because it's the right storyline. It makes the most sense. So that's just my opinion on it. And hopefully you guys have enjoyed that part of the opinions. I'm just going to take a quick little commercial break, come back, going to talk about the Hall of Fame as well as Frontline Pro from this past week. Definitely tune in, because you do not want to miss out on this. Stay tuned, guys. I'll be right back.
This is the Princess of Pro Wrestling, SoCal Val, inviting you to watch Grown-Ass Women TV every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. GAW-TV is the ultimate slumber party with me, Lisa Marie Varon, and Mickey James. Plus, special guests like Mick Foley, WWE's Paige, and more. We're live in the YouTube chat room every Wednesday for each episode premiere. So join us, and don't forget to bring a cocktail. Visit GAWTV.com for more info. That's GAWTV.com. We'll see you there.
This is your pool party captain, Randy Fitzsimmons, and you're listening to the Game Changer Podcast. Pew, pew!
You can look, but you can't touch. You keep dreaming on the stars above. Something in your eyes lets me see right through you. There's no mystery, what's on your mind? Something in the way I move must make you crazy. It's a mystery, I don't know why. Get out your best line, take your best shot. You can bet I've heard them all before. Don't take it hard when you fall flat on your face. You won't be all alone down there on the floor. Cause you can look, but you can't touch. You keep dreaming on the stars.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the music for the current WWE Hall of Famers, the Bella Twins. And that is what I'm going to be talking about in this segment, is the WWE Hall of Fame, as well as talking a bit about the inductees for the combined classes of 20 of 2020 as well as 2021, which is kind of the first time ever that they're doing that. But at the same time, a lot of these people definitely do and deserve to be a part of history. Now, I will say this, that I do agree that there should be an actual Hall of Fame building that should be built. I know that there's been talks about the building actually being built, but I'll believe it when I see it. So, kind of one of those things where, WWE Hall of Famers are going to have, I think from what I've seen, there's been people that have had the plaque, they're going to have a ring. It's just one of those things where it makes it more monumental and more worthwhile when you actually have something that can symbolize that. So let's go right into talking about the inductees for the WWE class of 2020 as well as 2021. First up, we have JBL, better known as John Bradshaw Layfield. A lot of people might remember him from his time with the APA, as well as the guy who literally kicked immigrants back across the border. Oh boy, JBL, there's so much to say about you. But I think that in all honesty, the main thing I could say about JBL is that he is a heat magnet, and he is one of those guys who definitely provided one of the most hated characters in wrestling's as well as WWE's history. I mean, I'm looking at like the accomplishments that he has. He's been a former WWE champion, Intercontinental champion, United States champion, 3-time tag team champion, European champion, 18-time hardcore champion, and just one of those guys who really did his best to give back to everyone. And also, he was one of the guys who helped create the Tribute to the Troop series. This is a guy who, granted, has had some stories in the back that have definitely not shown that he's a favorable guy, but he is one of those characters that should definitely be remembered for his time and for all of his hard work in the WWE Hall of Fame. So I definitely will say that he's earned it, he deserves it, and congratulations to JBL. One that is a long time coming is the British Bulldog, former Intercontinental Champion, European Champion, 2-time Hardcore Champion, and 2-time World Tag Team Champion. What can I say about the British Bulldog that has not already been said? This is a guy who literally lived and breathed professional wrestling. He has some of the best matches on every single person's top 5 list, whether he had matches with Shawn Michaels or Bret Hart. I mean, the fact that they headlined a UK show for the Intercontinental Championship, it was the main event. It was one of those events that will definitely never be replicated and will never be duplicated. That feel-good moment where Bret Hart got pinned by the British Bulldog for the Intercontinental Champion, it just was something that was just absolutely amazing. It's a feel-good moment. Unfortunately, British Bulldog would pass away about, I feel like it's almost been like almost 2 decades, I want to say it's been. It's been honestly one of those things where British Bulldog has definitely been a long time coming for the WWE Hall of Fame. He is well-deserving of it. He has definitely earned this, and he is getting his rightful dues, acknowledgement as a Hall of Famer. Next up, we have a New Japan legend in Hushin Thunder Liger, former IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, 11-time champion, and a former Light Heavyweight Champion in WCW. With Hushin Thunder Liger, I will say this, that I've gotten the chance to see a couple of his matches, and they have definitely delivered. He had a match with Samoa Joe at Bound for Glory that I remember. He had a match with Petey Williams at, I want to say it was Sacrifice in 2006. It was in the World X Cup. And then he also had his match with Tyler Breeze in NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Was it Brooklyn? Yep, no, it was Brooklyn. This is one of those individuals who definitely gives so much for the business. I really do need to start watching a lot more of Jushin Thunder Liger matches because they have been absolutely amazing. This is a bona fide legend in any sense of the word. He is an international star who definitely deserves every single bit of his, accolades as well. His hard work just absolutely acknowledged and give it. He is just one of those guys who definitely deserves this honor. Even though he only wrestled for WWE one time, it was still a memorable impact. And I'm very happy to see that, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Next up, we have the NWO as the next one for this one. They have Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Sean Waltman being inducted into the Hall of Fame. They will each be getting their second induction into the Hall of Fame, but having the entire NWO in the Hall of Fame, it makes sense. They were the first, we're going to take over kind of extravaganza group. They had so many people that just absolutely were decimated in their way. And I will say that they have earned that spot from almost killing WCW to almost trying to do the same thing in the WWE, but they just absolutely wrecked house, and they created a legacy that will never be replicated ever again. So, all hail the Wolfpack, all hail the NWO. They're going into the Hall of Fame, well deserved. Next up will be the Bella Twins, aka the greatest team in the world, as told by Anthony DiStefano. Well, at least one of the greatest women in the world, that being Nikki Bella. When it comes to the Bella Twins, both of them have won the Divas Championship, and they are, in all honesty, pioneers of the Divas Revolution. I will admit that when it came down to the Bella Twins, I was never their biggest fan. I mean, I even had an episode where I talked about the fact that they somehow followed me on Twitter, and I felt the wrath of the Bella Army. That was something that I was not expecting, and it was something that I do not want to go through again because that was not fun. So I'm going to give credit where credit is due, and I'm going to be respectful when it comes to the Bella Twins. They definitely made their mark in WWE, and it was all for the betterment because they definitely came in, busted their asses, they got better, and they created some of the best moments that you will see in WWE, aside from that one moment where Nikki said to Brie that she wished she died in the womb. Let's not go into that. Let's just kind of put that one under the rug with, necrophilia, Katie Vick, and all that stuff. And, hey, there's Chloe Lynch. So, Bella Twins, congratulations to you. Definitely well-deserved, and looking forward to seeing that induction. On the celebrity wing, they have William Shatner, a.k.a. Captain Kirk, Stargate. So, Captain Kirk, a.k.a. William Shatner, is one of the most entertaining people that you'll see in WWE. And I do mean WWE, because every single time he appeared, he always did this deal where he was just so much more of a character than any of the WWE characters ever could be. He just knew how to outshine everybody, but he also definitely had a good spirit about it, from what I felt. I'm sure there's other people that may have different opinions about him, but William Shatner is definitely somebody who deserves to be in any Hall of Fame. He has given so much to the acting world, and he's also given so much to the wrestling world, so we can definitely say thank you to William Shatner. And I should also say this. I should also, give a thank you to every other, person that I've mentioned here, from the JBLs, Jushin Thunder Ligers, Bulldogs, NWO. Thank you guys for, giving everything to the world of wrestling entertainment. Next up, we have the recipient of the Warrior Award for this year. That's going to be Titus O'Neil, former tag team champion as well as 24/7 champion. He was the first one to be the 24/7 champion because why not? I was kind of surprised to see Titus O'Neil get this, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people that might disagree, but I actually do agree with what Saw Monster had to say about the Titus this award. I believe that it should be renamed the Shad Gaspar Memorial Award, or it should be at least something that would definitely honor Shad Gaspar, because in his final moments he did save his son. I think Shad Gaspar definitely deserves to have some kind of way to pay homage to him. And I'm not saying that Ultimate Warrior doesn't. He's definitely given a lot to the wrestling business. I think that, Shad Gaspar would be a better fit for this. And I think that there are other ways that you can honor the name of the Warrior. Would I say, like a Battle Royal or something like that? No, I think that you could have an Ultimate Warrior memorial tournament. I think that would actually be really fun to kind of really see who's the toughest of the tough. That would just be great, in all honesty. I think that would be a better fit for the Ultimate Warrior compared to having it's just like an award. It's kind of one of those things where, to be a warrior, you definitely have to kind of earn that moniker. But to be a hero, all it really takes is one true selfless act, and that is exactly what Shad Gaspar is. So that's the way that I kind of see it. And you might disagree with me, you might agree with me. It's just a subjective deal. Hopefully I didn't piss off too many people with that. But we go into the next inductee for the Hall of Fame for this year, 2021. We have Molly Holly. Thank God Molly Holly is getting into the Hall of Fame. I honestly thought that she definitely deserved to be in the Hall of Fame sooner than so many people. But she's going into the Hall of Fame, and that's what matters right now. Former two-time women's champion, former hardcore champion, which in all honesty, I did in fact talk to her about that when I was at C2E2 last year. Yep. And, just talking to her about, the fun that she has in wrestling and just talking about that moment. It's just one of those things where you definitely do have a greater appreciation for everything that she has done. And I think that's also really cool to see whenever she comes out, she kind of doing like the Crash Holly kind of strut. That just warms my heart quite a bit. So thank you, Molly Holly, for everything you've done, and congratulations on that. And as well as Titus O'Neil for the recipient of the Warrior Award. Please don't take anything away from what I've said other than you've definitely deserved it. One person who definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame is the one and only Eric Bischoff. One guy who I've met, very, very cool guy. And this is a guy who literally almost burnt WWE to the ground. Let's face it. Eric Bischoff is one of those guys who creates controversy. He creates cash. He created a book about it. And he just absolutely created a legacy built on that. Eric Bischoff definitely deserves that honor to be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm glad to see that he's going to be in the WWE Hall of Fame, because he had a lot of great moments in WWE. Whether it was his, creation of specific matches like the Elimination Chamber, every time that he was just this sleazy slime ball of a general manager. A lot of his moments where he fired people, it was just absolutely dramatic, but it was also well done. I absolutely loved a lot of times when he fired somebody, because he definitely put his heart and his soul into that. And remember, he is one of the guys who orchestrated WCW that ultimately built them as one of the top wrestling companies ever. And you look at that, combining him with Vince McMahon, that moment where Vince McMahon announces Eric Bischoff as the Raw general manager, and they're just hugging. Just that moment there where it just killed off not only the Monday Night War beef, but just a new chapter, a new era in WWE was being made right then and there. Speaking of burning stuff to the ground, let's talk about Glenn Jacobs, a.k.a. Kane. He's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Another person that well deserves it. Kane is one of those characters that I remember as a kid being definitely intimidated by. Even, 2004 era Kane, where he just had the bald head, the crazy look in his eye, and the laugh of the just, oh my gosh, he definitely knew how to send goosebumps right down my spine, and not in the best way. Kane is one of those guys who, you look at his list of accomplishments: WWE champion, World Heavyweight champion, ECW champion, Intercontinental champion, Hardcore champion, 24/7 champion, WWE, multi-time tag team champion. Are you kidding me? Jeez Louise, 2010 Money in the Bank winner. And he has the most cumulative Royal Rumble match eliminations at 46, and the most Rumble appearances at 20. This is a guy who literally found a way to make an impact in WWE. This is not bad for the guy who was Fake Diesel, the Christmas Monster, as well as Isaac Yankem. This is a guy who literally just created a legacy, and he definitely found a way to burn his mark into wrestling. So to Glenn Jacobs, we say thank you, as well as to Eric Bischoff, say thank you as well. Guys definitely deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Next up, we have the Great Khali, former World Heavyweight Champion. What can I say about the Great Khali except the fact that he's a big guy? He was very dominant, and he definitely gave his all in the world of wrestling. I was never really the biggest fan of Great Khali, so I'm definitely trying to be nice about this. When it comes down to the Great Khali, I definitely will say that he left a mark in WWE. I'm gonna put it like that. So I will say, Great Khali, thank you. And we go on to I think this is going to be the last. No, I got two more to do. I almost forgot about one of the biggest ones. Actually, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do one of the celebrity wings of the Hall of Fame. Joining William Shatner will be Ozzy Osbourne, and I will say this, that Ozzy is a very unique person to put into the WWE Hall of Fame, but also he creates a lot of great moments, including his time when he was on Raw as the guest general manager. I think they did their own Raw's Got Talent kind of deal. Just, oh my gosh. He's, absolutely a phenomenal singer. He created a legacy of just munching, heads off of bats and being this guy who just believed in hardcore rock and roll. Just, Ozzy Osbourne is the man. Let's say that. So thank you, Ozzy, for everything that you've done. Welcome to the WWE Hall of Fame. And last up, we have somebody who I got the chance to meet this past weekend at Honor Bound, who was victorious in his main event match, which I will talk about after this break. That being one Rob Van Dam, former WWE, ECW, Intercontinental Champion, Hardcore Champion, European Champion, Tag Team Champion, ECW World Television Champion, and ECW Tag Team Champion, as well as the 2006 Money in the Bank winner. It's another thing where it's what can I say about Rob Van Dam that already hasn't been said? This is a guy who literally gave everything to his just everything that his body could handle. The 5-star frog splashes, the Extreme Rules matches, the Van Terminator, the Van Daminator, everything that he did just screamed of extreme, and definitely was one of those guys who just earned every single bit of recognition that he has earned right to this day. Rob is one of those guys who I definitely looked at and just loved to watch. I would definitely dare say that he was one of my favorite high flyers, if not my favorite high flyer of all time. The guy just knows how to make moves so fluent, and he makes it just so absolutely just works so well. It's just crazy watching this and seeing how Rob Van Dam can move. And he definitely gave everything in this business. Coming up with the one night stand deal. This guy had the longest reign as, television champion for ECW ever. Quite possibly one of the true pioneers of, you work hard, you're going to be a worthy champion. If you look at this guy, he literally won the championship from Bam Bam Bigelow, defended it against everybody that he could, and literally put his body on the line, showing that the ECW World Television title was one of the be-all, end-all championships. And if you remember correctly, he was supposed to actually have a feud with Mike Awesome where they would unify the titles. Unfortunately, due to injury and due to Mike Awesome being a bit of a dick, that did not happen. But seeing, Rob Van Dam getting inducted in the Hall of Fame and getting the chance to see him this past weekend was just an absolute honor and privilege, and it was just so really cool to see. So, with that being said, congratulations to everybody in the Hall of Fame. You've definitely deserved your spots. You definitely earned your spots. And looking forward to seeing what, how the Hall of Fame ceremony is going to be. I will say this, though. There is one small caveat that I have an issue with when it comes to the Hall of Fame. So it seems like they trying to cut down on time for the Hall of Fame, which makes no sense to me. I mean, I understand that, they're combining two classes, so they kind of have to, work with certain deals. But at the same time, these people have earned their spot. They should be allowed to thank whoever they have, and they should be able to tell stories like they should. They should not be forced to cut their stuff down to 4 minutes. It makes no sense. It really doesn't. If it's going to be that much of an issue, then make it a 2-night event. Make it where, the 2020 Hall of Fame class, they do one night, and then the 2021 class, they do another night. It could literally not be any simpler. You could have had, the Hall of Fame take place on Tuesday night as well as Thursday night. Then you could have like a whole week of WrestleMania festivities deals going on. That just would have made so much sense, and that would have just been awesome. That's just my opinion, but kind of wait and see. Maybe it's for the best. I doubt it. So, with that being said, I'm going to take one more quick commercial break, you guys. Then when we come back, it's going to be time to talk about Frontline Pro. And oh boy, does Frontline Pro have so much to talk about. So, stay tuned, guys. Be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Coda Jacobs, the crusader and visionary behind a brighter future in wrestling. If you're an honorable and noble public servant like myself, you are listening to the Game Changer Podcast.
Under attack, always coming in last, bringing up the past. No one owes you anything, I think. You need a shotgun blast, a kick in the ass, so paranoid. Watch your back! Oh my, here we go, another loose cannon gone bipolar. Slip down, couldn't get much lower. Quicksand's got no sense of humor. I'm still laughing like hell. You think that my crimes are me? Looking so sorry that I'm gonna believe you've been a I'm still here to explain that the darkest hour never comes in the night. You can sleep with the gun when you're awake.
Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, this is NateFNGreat from the Game Changer Podcast. Honestly, guys, what a crazy night it was at Honor-Bound this past week. It is one of the biggest shows that was to hit the central Wisconsin area. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the matches as well as the moments that really made this event just absolutely amazing. We kicked it off with the tag team title match where we have the Dream Warriors, Skylar Evans and Quinn Whittick, taking on the team of Aaron Arsenal and Shane Hills. Great matchup between these guys. You literally have, Shane Hills was the biggest guy in that entire matchup, and he definitely delivered the power. Aaron Arsenal was the guy who definitely got on the heat, as well as just brought it a little bit of a grounded style, whereas the Dream Warriors provide a lot more of the high-flying style. And I will say this, Dream Warriors, one of the best names that I've heard since Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Give you guys a moment to catch that. So, great matchup. It ends with the Dream Warriors picking up the victory, retaining their tag team titles. And a great, hard-fought matchup. Definitely great way to start off the night. And I will tell you this, every single one of the matches definitely got, bigger and better as time went on. So let's go right into that. Talking about the 5-way matchup for the number one contendership for the Frontline Pro Heavyweight Championship. The winner will go on to face the heavyweight champion at a later date. The 5 competitors are Zach Hendricks, Ragnar the Ruthless, Vic Caprice, hopefully I said that right, Backwoods Brown, and the returning, in all honesty, this is something I was not expecting at all, Logan Lynch. He came in with this new gear. He kept the glasses that he normally has, those ones that kind of light up in the night, in the dark. Again, not expecting that, but at the same time, not complaining about it. It was pretty cool. And I did give him a little grief saying that he looked like Steve Blackman and Garnet, which, to be honest, you gotta give me that. You really do. But he definitely was continuing to be just this ruthless, aggressive guy. Everybody in this matchup definitely had their high spots, had their moments to shine. In the end, we saw Backwoods Brown picking up the victory, and he is the number one contender for the championship. Looking forward to seeing what he does in the future against the heavyweight champion. I will tell you this, whoever you are, you're going to have a hard time dealing with this guy because his chops are wicked, they are brutal, and they will hurt you. Next up, we have Kate Forbes as well as Cal Hero taking on the team of Joey Avalon and Evil Sierra. This was an interesting matchup in which I definitely had a lot of high expectations because Cal Hero is a guy who is signed with OVW. He is one of the guys who are opening a lot of eyes in the world of professional wrestling. Joey Avalon is one of the best in the Midwest, and just seeing these guys lock up is always great. But also seeing Katie Forbes wrestle was the first time for me. But I've seen Sierra wrestle in the past, so I definitely thought, okay, this is going to be just a knockdown, drag about, great matchup between these 4 individuals. And to their credit, they were absolutely great. It was a great matchup. Had some fun moments where Katie was doing Forbes was doing a lot of twerking during this matchup. I don't know if I've seen as many twerks in a matchup as I would see on a TikTok, but that's just me. In the end, Katie Forbes pinned Joey the Jet Avalon. Let me repeat that. Katie Forbes pinned Joey Jet Avalon. He is not going to hear the end of that. Not unless I have a single breath in my body, which I may not very longer, just because of the fact that he's probably going to bury me shuffle style. Yeah, like I said, another great matchup. We go to the next one, which is the Battle City Championship last man standing match, where it's Rough Crossing taking on J Cash. What can I say other than this matchup was brutal? It was just a knockdown, drag-about match between these two guys, definitely laying it all on the line. We see crutches, we've seen chairs, we've seen carts, we see so many different weapons being utilized in this. And in the end, Rough Crossing picked up the victory via smart thinking, in all honesty. This guy literally, at the count of 9, rolls out of the ring, and he's able to stand, whereas J Cash just barely misses that opportunity to, reach that 10 count. Rough Crossing wins, he retains, and it was something that I was honestly not expecting, but I will also say this. I'm one of those people that can say, hey, I think he got that from watching my matchup. Me versus Mikey on the wrestling show. Try to prove me wrong. Next up, we have the King of the Cruiserweights Championship match, in which TW3 challenged Gavin McCoy. Great fast-paced style between these two guys. There came a point where TW3 actually was climbing to the top of the entryway, and he makes it to the top, but Gavin chases after him, knocks him off, and then does a crossbody to the, I think it was Culture Nation, I want to say was the name of the faction that TW3 had. It was something of a spectacle, and it was great. Gavin McCoy picked up the victory in the end of it, but he also got beat down by TW3 and his group of, I guess you could call them, miscreants, until Magnum GM, I'm going to call him that now, Magnum GM, had his buddies come out, and they cleared house, and they made sure that Gavin was okay. Also, TW3, I know you hate the reference, because I know people have definitely tried to call him Kofi Kingston, and he is not. He's honestly different from Kofi Kingston. I would definitely say better. I do slightly apologize for what my friend said, asking him about the Jamaican accent. I was waiting for TW3 to just go over to my friend and just start pounding away on him. Just, there's certain people that you love to hang around with, but then there's some that just make you shake your head and just think, why do I hang out with these people? This is one where it was a day where it's like, why do I hang out with this guy? And I'm sure his wife felt the same way. We go into the semi-main event deal, in which we have Justin Red challenging Cody Jacobs for the Frontline Pro Heavyweight Championship of the World. This is another great matchup in which Cody Jacobs and Justin Red were definitely showcasing what it means to be the Frontline Pro Heavyweight Champion. Now, in this matchup, we get some shenanigans. Cody Jacobs loves to utilize his sign. He wants to make sure that, people understand that, hey, they got the right to vote and they got the right to blah, 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 that kind of deal. But in the end, Cody Jacobs actually gets the victory via disqualification after Justin Dredd hits Cody Jacobs with a cutter. He's just about to throw the sign up, but the referee catches him and assumes that Justin Dredd used the sign, called for the DQ. Cody Jacobs wins. I was fairly displeased about that, because not too long before this happened, the referee literally pushed Cody Jacobs because he was being a dick. It's just one of those things where it's like, wrestling's weird, man, but I also love it. Then we go into the main event, as it rightfully deserved to be. It was Ben McCoy versus Rob Van Dam. What started as a wrestling match turned into a hardcore rules match. And in this matchup, it was brutal, it was crazy, it was just absolute pandemonium. So many crazy spots where Ben, dove out to Rob Van Dam. Van Dam does his usual spiel of kicks and fast-paced moves. He just absolutely looks like he hasn't missed a beat because he's Rob Van Dam, because he's the whole effing show. That's just who he is. So the matchup ends with a table being set up in the ring, and it looks like Bill Alfonso is just going to try to send Ben McCoy there through like a splash or some sorts, but Ben McCoy hits a super belly-to-belly to Bill Alfonso through the table, but that allows Rob Van Dam to capitalize, hits the 5-star frog splash for the 1-2-3. I was in shock with that finish. I literally was just like, I thought Ben was going to legit win, but Rob Van Dam, he's a smart man. He definitely knew that, there was going to be a bit of a distraction, and he definitely knew what was going to go down. So he picks up the victory, he wins, and it was, again, brutal, but it was a great matchup to end the night. Rob and Ben, they shake hands at the end of it. It's a great show of mutual respect, and the entire Frontline Pro roster is just surrounding the ring. We see a moment where they all get in the ring. Everybody's, hugging Ben. Ben is just getting emotional where he, talks about how, he got to wrestle his hero. He got to wrestle one of his favorite people. He talks about, how emotional of a night it was to, reach this point, because the pandemic definitely did derail the whole deal with us being able to produce this show. But in the end, it happened. He was so happy about it. He cut this really emotional promo and definitely said that he wanted to thank, friends and family for being there to support him, for making Frontline Pro one of the best wrestling promotions that there is. And that was it. It was one of those moments that definitely really showed how wrestling can still be real, and how wrestling can still be just this absolutely emotional, great sport that can make you feel human and can make you feel like you've made a difference. So that was Honor Bound. That was a great show. It was fantastic. Definitely one of those things where if you guys get a chance, definitely check out your local independent scene. Definitely just go out, show your support, show that you care, and you never know. That person that you see wrestle in the ring, they could in fact be somebody that you see on national TV. They could be the next person that beats an AJ Styles. They could be the next person that take on the Lucha Bros. They could be the next Impact World Tag Team Champions. There's so many factors that go into it, you guys, but I truly do believe that every single one of these people that I've seen in the ring have what it takes to make it to that big time deal, to make it to the big leagues. They definitely earned it. They deserve it. And I'm very happy to be a part of their journeys. So that being said, you guys, this has been the Game Changer Podcast, Pro Talk Wrestling Edition. It's always fun to be a wrestling fan. Definitely get a chance to check me out on Twitter as well as Instagram at RealFNGame, where I post pictures as well as random deals on Twitter. Be sure to check out our Facebook fan page. Be sure to also enjoy many other great podcasts from this show, whether it's interviews, pop culture talk, or just talk about professional wrestling. There's so much that I go into. And to be honest, it's always fun. So definitely check out that on all great podcasting formats. Definitely check out next week, because it will be ACW Water City Wrestling Con. It is going to be the biggest show that you could possibly imagine. So many great stars, including Kevin Nash, Insane Clown Posse, Matt Cardona, Kurt Hawkins, Brian Myers, I should say, Tennille Dashwoods, Boogeyman, so many more involved with this, you guys. The headliners are for the Tag Team Titles Players Club challenging against world-class, I guess I could say world-class athletes, Shane Hill and Steve Sawyer. You also have the oh my gosh, I need to pull up the card for this really quick, because I really do think that I definitely want to promote this really quickly. Jeez Louise, that's really sad that I actually didn't have like all these matches written down. But Tennille Dashwood takes on Stacey Shadows, who takes on Serena in a triple threat matchup. Ladies and gentlemen, it's something that is going to be absolutely awesome. Because I definitely want to make sure that they're... Oh, that's right. Joey Jet Avalon will be teaming up with Matt Cardona and Brian Myers to take on the Disregarded. We will also have the... Oh my gosh. What was the name of this? Oh, there's also going to be a matchup featuring Swoggle taking on Smart Mark Sterling. There's also a match between the All Night Highlight Peter Swans as well as the Curse. The big main event, ladies and gentlemen, is Adam Grace taking on his child, I guess you could say his childhood icon, that being Nick Colucci. It's going to be an absolutely amazing matchup for the ACW World Heavyweight Championship. So, guys, get your chance to enjoy this event. Unfortunately, it is sold out right now, but I will get the chance to post a couple pictures on that, maybe a couple videos, but definitely tune in to watch this event. Well, when you get the chance, you'll definitely enjoy this event. For everybody that's going to ACW Varsity Wrestling Con, I will see you there. It's going to be an absolutely tremendous show. And yeah, don't forget, guys, that we also have a YouTube channel. We also have merch at the Game Changer Podcast merch.com. Yep, it is an actual official site now, so definitely check that out. And I'm going to continue to make more shirts for that, you guys. I definitely do want to make sure that I create more content, so definitely tune into that. April is going to be featuring a lot of content, including some special guest spots, so definitely tune into that because it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you so much. Enjoy your WrestleMania weekend, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.